Welcome everyone to Nerdwide.com's weekly podcast titled Hero Cravings, the Arrowverse, where we cover and break down all CW Arrowverse shows, episode by episode for you, the listener. As always, I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Chris Rivers.
What's going on, everybody?
Quick housekeeping before we get into this episode. Don't forget to share, rate, and review this podcast on whatever podcasting service you use. And we are officially on YouTube, and we're going to be doing our best to upload every single one of these episodes. So make sure you subscribe to YouTube at youtube.com/nerdwide. And then also... Do what?
As long as you don't get us kicked off.
As long as I don't get enough copyright strikes and get us kicked off the YouTube. You never know. Don't forget that Chris recaps Blacklist and Blindspot at purefandom.com, so make sure you check out his weekly recaps there. Now, this is our 27th official episode. Let me give you a recap of how the show is going to go down. Each week we go through all the Arrowverse TV episodes in order as they air. We'll bring you our thoughts and reactions to every single one of those episodes. That being said, we're going to jump right on into it with Legends of Tomorrow, episode 317, titled Guest Starring John Noble. Extremely weird title, but really great episode. I feel like they could have done a different title for it. But, you know, it is what it is. So, the team figured out that Amaya has been taking the jump ship, took the jump ship to 1992 to Zambezi. She's trying to stop the destruction of her village from the warlords. She's trying to change time because I'm assuming she's feeling this sense of honor that she needs for Kuwasa. And that's where it all started, was the Zambezi getting destroyed, her village. So I assume that's why she felt like she had to do this. And then we find out there's an anachronism, and it is with a Barry. So we found out that Grodd was targeting Barry. And I know what you're thinking, Barry Allen. No. It is Barack Obama. So, not Barry Allen, but Barry Obama. That was the funniest thing that I did not see coming. The guy who played Barack Obama did such a great job. I know we talked about it during the pre-show, Chris, but
yeah,
the actor just had his mannerisms, his voice, and just the way he portrayed himself was very Barack Obama, and I loved it. So. And we had some fun, just like sayings from the episode for that as well. Like what was Sarah said, "What we're on Obamacare," because they were going after Obama, and Nate and Wally went after Amaya.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then Sarah, at one point in the episode, she's talking to him, and he says, "Well, I go by Barry." And she said, "No, I think you want to go by Barack."
Yeah, it sounds a little stronger or something like that.
Yeah.
Then there was also Grodd kidnapped Obama. He said he's going to make America Grodd again, which is obviously a play on word of our current political, not going to say leader. So Damian watches as Nora almost becomes Mollis, but because the team saved Obama, thanks to Ray shrinking Grodd and putting him in a jar, Mollis can't quite break through. And, you know, of course, where we know all this because that was what the Darks were doing, were causing anachronism, which loosened the cell of Mollis, and I'm assuming like the little spirit realm, wherever he's trapped. And we see Damian leave Nora because he's starting to understand that Nora is going to die when Mollis takes over. And he gets his heart, which this whole thing was at first trying to bring himself back, but then after he brought himself back to life, he is more and more caring for his daughter Nora. So he shows up to the Legends, which was hilarious on its own, with Damian trying to help with Ray's, I want to say like pentagram, but little trap on the floor. And he says, that's because your Ankh is upside down. He goes, no, it's not. And so he flipped it over and his trap worked. He said, see? And it was, Damian is the classic dad right now trying to save his daughter. And so what does he do? He goes to the Legends to try and recruit their help. And in good faith, he gives them the water totem off that he stole off of Nora, and it's kind of like this is a what do they call that? I'm sorry gift. You know what I'm talking about, the bygones. But Sarah orders Rory to kill Damien, but Rip and Ava convince her to turn him over to the Bureau. And this was a very touching scene because Sarah is, she was like, let's put him back in the ground again from what he
Yeah.
is. But it was, and Rory, had his little hair dryer gun. Every time I see his new gun, that's all I think of. It's like it's just a hair
Well,
dryer.
and Sarah's point in her defense was he's already died. I'm just correcting another anachronism,
Right. Which
which
is true. I mean, that's
valid
their
point.
job.
Yeah.
So, but what I mean, I also see Rip and Ava's thing as well. Put them in like at a. I'm sure the Time Bureau has their own jail for things like this. So I mean, I guess that makes sense. Let's flash forward over to Zambezi. We see the older Amaya, which the special effects crew did such a great job to make the actress who plays Amaya look older. Great job, anyways. They always do. But we see her in this tent with the rest of the tribe and the rest of the village, and they were going to pass this totem over to Amaya's daughter, which is was it Essay or
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how they pronounced it. I think that's right.
It's essay.
And the daughter never showed up, and that was very because we know the village gets destroyed by a bunch of warlords, but I didn't think it was because of they didn't have a totem bearer to protect them.
Well, and what I didn't understand was, okay, she's ready to turn the totem over to her daughter,
Right.
right? That's what I thought it was. But was it the fact that she could no longer bear the totem? Because you would think if Amaya was still there and her daughter had refused the totem, she could have used the totem.
Right. But I wonder if it's like because she's older and more fragile.
And it won't work.
Yeah. Because it's just that time of passing or whatever.
Yeah.
Which we'll get more to that here shortly. We see a nice scene between Sarah and Ava because they're still on the fritz right now. We just found out that Ava's a clone, or assuming she's a clone, and they have this little touching scene where Sarah's trying to convince Ava that she needs to talk to Rip about everything that's going on, and Ava is very structured, very the leader she is. She goes, we're not worried about my personal issues right now. We're here to try to save the world. And I thought that said a lot about her character and a lot about her clone. And the reason, which we found out later, that Rip did pull Ava back, and Ava is a clone. We did find this out. But it just says a lot about Ava, which, some more on that later, because it's a little doozy. And I didn't like Rip so much more afterwards. But Sarah's having this relationship problem. She's having this leadership problem. She doesn't know what to do. So who does she turn to, Chris? Barack Obama.
Right.
She goes back to him and has a conversation and tries to fix her head.
Right. When they left him before, they wiped his memory.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so at the end of her kind of counseling session with him, after she's spilled her guts on all this stuff and gets his help, she wipes his mind again.
And does that whole little Men in Black flash gun thing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Barack pretty much convinced Sarah to let Damien help them because he's trying to correct his mistake because he doesn't want his daughter to go through what she's going through. And meanwhile, this whole episode, Rory is on this Lord of the Rings binge. Which was funny because Ava said, "Oh, I didn't know you could read." And he said, "Ha," or something like that. But he was watching the movies.
Yeah.
And then the team heard John Noble's voice from Lord of the Rings and noticed how similar his voice was to Malus. And then thus enter the title of the episode, guest starring John Noble, Ray Palmer goes to where when they're filming The Lord of the Rings and starts running lines with John Noble, just so he can record his voice, and he got him to say some certain things. It was just a whole funny. If you didn't watch this episode or anything, watch the clip of Ray Palmer and John Noble just going through lines and just their bickering back and forth with some of the funniest stuff. And I mean, that's all we saw of John Noble though. And then younger Maya convinces SA to take responsibility of the totem. She was like, I know it. You're scared. Every totem bearer is terrified when they're first going to take over the totem, but you have the strength, and that's what your mother sees in you. And she convinced her. And then Nate works to convince older Amaya to let her daughter know that she's in her corner. It's basically all just like a big miscommunication thing of what was going on, and Nate and his Amaya, is what I'm gonna say, is work together to get this going, because Nate says, you know what, forget history, let's do something that's actually good for the world for once. And so they were going to, and Amaya's big thing was let's get the totem where it's supposed to be, and maybe this will stop the destruction of my tribe and my village. Of course, later on we find out that is not the case, but we see Ray fly into Nora's ear because Damien traps her on the Wave Rider, and because he's trying to essentially to kill Nora because it's not Nora anymore. And so Ray flies into her ear and plays the recording of the John Noble lines that they read earlier, and then we get her locked up and shackled. And what the thing is they wanted to cause one more anachronism, and so they could free Mollis and to kill Mollis, and everyone was going to get their own totem for this, which was really weird because they gave Damien the death totem, and it's not who I would have given it to.
Right.
I think Sarah should have. I know, they said because of they're both, the reason they both had a connection to it is because they were both dead and brought back to life.
Right.
But wouldn't you want Sarah to... She's already kind of got a connection with it. Why wouldn't you... I don't know. I guess, unless they thought Mollis was going to take over again.
Probably, yeah.
Nate gets the Earth Totem. Who got the Water Totem? Oh, Ray Palmer did, didn't he?
Yeah.
And we never did get to see him to use it, and unfortunately...
Yeah, Ray couldn't get his to work. Remember when they're in the village? He's like, I don't know how to do it.
It was performance anxiety, is what Damien said.
but Nate was able to get his to work. So.
And they all went back to Zambezi because they found out this is where the totems are the strongest. They go back and they said the anachronism was going to be that Amaya's village didn't get destroyed. But it still got destroyed a little bit, but this time it was from a gorilla and not warlords. And everyone was freaking out because they realized that Grodd was this giant gorilla that destroyed the village. And who released it? None other than Damien Dark. He saw a vision of his daughter from the death totem that said that he was just still trying to save her. And, it didn't work, obviously. And then as this little fight scene's going between the team and Damien Dark, Sarah stabs Damien Dark in the back, quite literally, not just figuratively here. And the episode ended with Mollis being ripped out of Nora. Nora is no longer alive. And Mollis takes flight as the team and Damien watch in horror. We also see older Maya and Essay trying to fight Grodd. And who else but Nathaniel comes in to save him with the Earth Totem. He was able to use it, flew Grodd off into who knows where, and was able to save his lover and someone's daughter. I don't know how they're going to do that.
I thought they had a funny moment there where he first encounters older Amaya.
Mm-hmm.
He goes into her tent to try and take the totem from her, and she flips him over, and she ends up on top of him on the floor. And he says, I honestly didn't think this would do it for me, but I was wrong.
Yeah. I love the little quips and like the just the fun this show brings to the table every week.
Absolutely.
And she had no recollection of him during this, but then after he saved them from Gride, she remembered him. So
Right.
obviously they changed it somehow.
Yeah. Something changed.
So I wonder what changed it, you know. So early numbers for this show, we got
Well,
0.
wait.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You got to finish the Ava stuff.
Oh, yeah. How did I completely skip over Ava?
I don't
So
know.
so Ava does confront Rip in a burst of anger. She was like, I went to the future. I know where I went to where I wasn't supposed to. I know that I'm just a clone. And it was a very touching scene between the two characters. And she was like, "How many?" And Rip was like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "How many came before me?" Because he said something. Um, I forget what he said. Some word or verbiage that made her think that, oh, it's not just me.
Right.
Um, we found out that this Ava is the 12th Ava that Rip has used, and that just blew my mind. I'm like, I don't understand that. It's because he wanted the clone because she was such a perfect warrior and a perfect leader and a perfect time bureau agent. I just didn't. That just didn't do it for me, Chris. That turned me off to Rip, if you will, because he hired this family. He's gone through all this stuff, put false memories into her head.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's just
But,
not what
you
you're
know,
supposed to
then
do.
then he backs the play of the legends, and Ava says, "Fine, you're fired."
Right. Which I don't know what his job position was, anyways, since they brought him back from being arrested.
But what
So,
got me too was after that, you know, Sarah, everybody was around when she fired Rip.
right.
And Sarah chases after her and she's like, "Look, I know you're confused and everything, but um, basically Sarah confesses her feelings for her, actually tells her she loves her,
Yeah. And then Ava
and
says there's nothing to love or something like that.
yeah, and turns and walks off.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Like,
Mm. And of course, we already know that Ava is going to be a series regular for next season. So,
she's not going anywhere,
no, she's not going anywhere.
but somebody is.
You want to explain that one there, sir?
I'll let you do the ratings first, and then we'll.
Get to some rumors.
Yeah.
Early numbers got 0.4 rating, which is pretty steady. 1.28 million viewers, which is down zero point 0.05. And this is the second lowest overnight rating of the season. And then next week's episode, which is the finale, everyone, don't forget, season finale of Legends of Tomorrow is next week.
Mhm.
It is
Mhm.
titled The Good, The Bad, and The Cuddly.
There's got to be a teddy bear in there somewhere.
I hope Bebo comes back.
Oh wow, that'd be something, wouldn't it?
Right.
Unless it's Mini Grodd.
Oh, cute little mini Grodd again.
Yeah. So no, we've been kind of beating this over the head whenever we mention this finale over the past few weeks that you're going to see Jonah Hex, you're going to see Jax come back, and I think we're supposed to see Constantine in the episode.
I believe so, if I'm not mistaken.
So we'll get those three. Um, but this week news broke after the airing of the episode. It was at some point, I think, over the day or two after that, that one of the legends will leave. Now, they haven't said how they'll leave. They did say, and I want to say it was Phil Klemmer that was being talked to. I could be wrong. I'm just going off memory, and I'm old. But but the term used was heartbreaking. So either someone dies or some people are speculating it could be that Amaya chooses to go back to her own time, and we lose the Nate Amaya coupling.
Because because we that would make sense because we've got a new totem bearer on the ship with with
Sorry.
Zari,
Yeah.
and that would make sense. Keep things going along.
I'm just, with because for those that listened to our renewal talk a few days ago
Which you can
for these
check that out on
CW.
youtube.com/nerdwine.
There you go, Tyler. You're getting good at this, man.
I'm
Um,
trying.
we theorized then that we might get a new member of the team um, from another show, that they might do it just to kind of change some things up again, because this show of all the shows has the most flexibility for team members. Finding out now though that they're gonna send someone packing. And that's the thing. If they just write a character out, if they leave and it's not a Maya going back to her own time, do we eventually see someone pop up on another team on another show?
Right.
Who knows?
Hmm.
But it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very.
And I wonder if for the new team members, if they'll wait until next season, or if they'll actually show us this episode. So I guess we'll find out. But the show must go on, and I mean that quite literally. Next show I've got is Arrow, episode 617, titled Brothers in Arms. Of course, last week we talked about the preview that you watched, Chris, of Diggle and Ollie fighting.
Right.
That was, of course, at the forefront of my mind during this whole episode. And it actually happened, and I loved it, but we're going to have to get through some stuff first before we get to that. So, Team Arrow and the SCPD arrest the Bratva, including the Anatoly behind the captain's back. Last week we discovered that the captain is very much in Diaz's pocket with the vertigo stuff that's going around.
Hmm.
So it was a nice little team up between the teams, between the police and Team Arrow. We see that Curtis is still watching Renee's daughter, and that Renee is still in the hospital. And I know, Chris, you're here with me. A collective thank you, Jesus, that he is
Absolutely.
still not in the show.
Absolutely.
We find out that Diaz has people implanted all throughout Star City, because once the captain realizes that Anatoly is arrested, he starts sending people in. They said they don't have any charges against him, and Anatoly is just freed just like that. And it was utterly, it was very angering for the team and for the viewers as well, because we thought we were getting some leeway on Diaz here, but no, we find out that it's much worse than what we imagined it was. And then Anatoly shoots the cop who arrested him, just because I think the cop was smiling when he did it, and he shoots him just cold blank, just kills him. So,
Yep.
uh, Diaz says, "What? No, what? No Russian torturing or anything like that." He says, "This is a new suit. I don't want to get it dirty."
That was very good, Tyler.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
It's my voice
No,
acting.
seriously.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm.
You sounded
That's,
just like him.
that's from Iron Man's Whiplash. That's where I channeled
Yeah.
that from. um,
Mickey Rourke.
yeah. Oh, look at you knowing your Marvel stuff, Chris.
Yeah.
Oliver's in his mayoral office. He brings in the DA and the police captain, and he tells both of them. He says, "I know you're both under Diaz's pocket. Why?" And like how he goes. It's obvious now. And the DA says he's got a son with cancer. I think is what it was, and he needs
Yeah.
the money. And the police captain said it's because her family is being held hostage.
Right.
But regardless, he fires both of them.
Can I jump in here real quick?
Absolutely.
So the way that the episode ends up playing out and some of Diggle's beefs with Oliver, I thought were pretty well summed up with that scene and how he handled that situation.
Yeah.
Um, you, it's the old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Right.
Um, Obviously, these people don't like Diaz. You know, they're not helping him because they want to. There are circumstances that he's using against them to get their assistance. So I felt like Oliver should have handled it differently, telling them something along the lines of, okay, he may guess that we know that you all are helping him, but we're not going to let on.
Right.
I will do what I can to help each of you,
I think
but we
he
have
I
to.
think he tried to with the DA because he said, we can help pay for your son's treatments. And he
Right,
said, with
but
what money? Because the city's
right,
broke.
yeah, but I mean, there had be that was that was good, you know.
Yeah.
But then as soon as he got shot down, he just went right to, all right, you're fired.
Yeah.
Well, now they're definitely your enemy.
Yeah, and the DA even said, he goes, "I know you're the Green Arrow." He goes, "Just evidence is all stacked against you. You are the Green Arrow." And he said, "I'm going to out you," or something like that.
Yeah,
It was a good scene. Like, this was a really well done episode. Period. Um, we flash over to the Arrow Cave, and Diggle and Oliver get another argument. Diggle is having a real big problem with the way Oliver's managing the team, which is just them three right now. And
right.
we get start off this fight that we know what we're building towards, and it all started with Oliver wanting to give the hood to Diggle, and then coming back and staying with the hood. And Diggle didn't take that well because he's been looking forward to this and everything. And then he just finds out that Oliver says, "You know what? I'm going to keep the hood on." And he goes, "It's not against you or anything." She goes, "This is something I love. This is as much as a part of me as it is anything." And
Right.
and like before even the fight started, he says, um, I don't want to give you the hood back because you're a druggie, because you're a drug addict from the same people we're trying to take down,
Yeah.
which does not help situations.
No,
Uh,
no, not at all. But
no,
I felt like he would have been better continuing to stick with his argument that when he had the hood on, he felt whole,
right.
as opposed to saying you're not worthy of wearing it basically because you bought drugs from the people we're trying to stop and therefore help them further their cause.
It's
When
I think it's a flawed
Diggle's in,
argument.
Diggle's intent was to help keep himself uh, like field ready
Yeah,
for when they went out. It wasn't like he was doing it just to get high. He was doing it
yeah, because
to
of
fit
the first
the
thing that happened was
perimeters.
Renee getting shot.
Yeah,
So uh, it's I see both sides of the argument. I'm more pro Diggle in this argument, um, but we'll get more on that later. We see Black Canary, or not Black Canary, a Black Siren for the first time in a couple of episodes. She is bored at the Lance household, and Quentin brings out all of Earth One Laurel's law school books. And she goes, if you're bored, why don't you try reading some of these and seeing how things work? And so she does, which is very problematic at the end of the episode. But we see that Diggle is confiding in his wife Lila, which we have not seen her, and I can't tell you how long. And it was good to see her back in the show.
hmm yeah,
And then Lila's like, Diggle, you're getting angry about all this, and it's not really the how much anger you have is not really what the problem is. Let's sit here and discuss it. And I felt like we saw more of them as a couple and a married couple than we have seen in Barry and Iris, and we have seen in Oliver and Felicity, in like
hmm
two scenes we saw with Diggle and Lila.
yeah. And I know that we've been kind of hitting that on these two shows. The marriage is not really being portrayed on screen, so why did you even do them yet if you're not going to do that?
Right.
At least with Oliver and Felicity, they've had a few moments at home with William
Hmm.
where we've kind of seen that dynamic. Um, but yeah, Barry and Iris, it's fallen flat. Yeah, Diggle and Lila, much more of a couple than Barry
Yeah.
and Iris at this point.
And especially like the way they confided in each other this episode, and there was just because apparently Lila was out of town handling some Argus business, and that's
Yeah,
where she's been. But anyways, we we get a glimpse of Curtis's new boyfriend. We find out he is not okay with vigilantes, which is a problem for Curtis because that's why his husband left him, was because
right.
Curtis was a vigilante, and Curtis had, confided in Dinah. He's like, it's just a cycle all over again. I don't know what to do. Um, but and here's where we get to the good stuff of this episode, of the actual fight between Diggle and Oliver. Um, I think Diggle came downstairs after his talk with Lina to the Arrow Cave, and he told Felicity, he goes, "Hey, can we have the room for a minute?" And she leaves, and they're both sitting again, opposite sides of the room, of the little middle of the room, talking to each other. And Diggle's like, it's the reason the team and everything is so problematic right now is because of you, Oliver, and your leadership. And it was very accusatory towards Oliver.
Hmm.
I feel like you could have talked about it. And, Diggle was very calm throughout the beginning of this whole thing.
Yeah.
But I could see where Oliver's temper could keep flaring up because it was very accusatory. And that's not how you want to solve a problem, period.
Well, no one who sees themselves as a leader wants to be told that their big problem is their leadership
Right.
style.
And just the way they are. And like they just kept getting each other's face, kept getting, redder and redder in the faces. And Diggle tells Oliver that William's mom is dead because of him and the way he has been going about things.
That
And
was too far.
yeah, that was way too far. But what took it to the next level, Chris, was Oliver going, "At least I'm not the one who got my brother killed." And I was like, "Okay, here we go." And
Yeah.
Diggle just reared back and threw a punch, and here they go fighting and breaking things. And of course, Felicity becomes the voice of reason during the fist fight and stops them
Hmm.
from fighting. They randomly find out they settle their differences just for a little bit to go take on this little mission, which I thought was a little much. If I just got in a fist fight with somebody, and I understand they're both still trying to protect the city, I just wouldn't be able to work together. Period.
Right.
But that's
Well,
just me.
I thought this episode was very well timed in the sense that um I think if Thea had still been there,
Oh
this
yeah,
the fight doesn't happen.
yeah. I feel like
It
she would have been the voice of reason if it did
yeah,
happen.
yeah, she would have diffused the situation, but I think that was one thing that kind of put Oliver on edge anyway,
Yeah.
you know.
Besides Felicity and William, who does he really have, family
Right.
wise? So, um, we flash over before the mission starts. We see that Curtis and Dinah and the good cops of the police force are in a little hideout because they're obviously know that somebody's killing the good cops. We find out that um, somehow Diaz's group in the Bratva found out where they are, and it was because of a dirty cop sold them out because they said, Diaz is the way to go, is what the cop said. And pulls a gun and gets ready to shoot Nick, which is Curtis's boyfriend. And Curtis dived in and took a bullet for his friend, and I was like, oh god, here we go. We're finding out that I thought Curtis was going to be in the hospital now. But I've got Curtis's boo here, finds out that he is Mr. Terrific because Curtis didn't actually die or take any damage. He kind of opened up his eyes. I guess it took the wind out of him. But he opened up his
Uh-huh.
eyes as Nick was holding him, and Nick was trying to find the wound, and he sees the Mr. Terrific outfit. Of course, like it's a big shock for Nick, as it would be for anybody finding out that the person they're dating is a vigilante. But we see, lost my train of thought. Oh, so we flash back over to The mission, they settle their differences just for that 1 minute, and they went and destroyed the Vertigo factory. They destroyed it once and for all, and Vertigo is supposedly not on the streets anymore for Diaz. We come back to the Arrow Cave. Diggle and Oliver are talking again. Diggle tells Oliver, he goes, you're not fit for the leader. This is why everything has been happening. He said you're putting yourself too thin. You're stretching yourself too thin. You can't be a father. You can't be a husband. You can't be a mayor and Green Arrow all at the same time. He says that's where your leadership is. Your focus isn't on one thing. It's on multiple at one time. And we don't have the leader that this team needs. Oliver says he's not going to step down doing anything. And Diggle says, you know what? I can't be a part of this team anymore. And Diggle actually quits the team. I don't know how long that's going to last, Chris. But that was very, very well done between these two actors. We've seen best friends and together since the beginning, pretty much. And I don't know. It was a good scene. I get both sides of the coin. Like I said earlier, I'm very pro Diggle though during these arguments. And then, And then of course Diggle goes to Lila and tells him that he quit. And Lila says, I could always use you here at Argus. Whether he takes that job or not, no idea. So I'm curious because now all we have is Felicity and Oliver as Team Arrow.
Yeah. It's going to be, again, we've kind of theorized, will we get some new team members on Arrow just to change things up,
Yeah.
This
didn't
season
lose people for Team Arrow.
this season has been it's been darker than normal for this show. It's been constant infighting among the team, and
it's just getting old and boring to me.
Yeah, you can tell from the ratings that people just aren't liking what's going down this season.
Yeah.
And I think they can get the fans back, but they really need an infusion of something. So right now, what we know is Renee's in the hospital. Yay!
Still, thank you, Jesus.
Mr. Terrific Curtis is he and Dinah have their own team, right?
Yeah, which they're not being very much vigilantes as is. They're doing more so by the book.
Yeah. And Dinah now has more time on her plate because she, along with all the clean cops, got fired.
Yep.
And now Diggle is potentially going to accept a job at Argus. So, yeah, what is it? I don't know the Green Arrow comic history well enough to know if there's a span of time there that they might be heading into one of the major comic arcs with all this.
Yeah, or he's by himself and figuring things out that way. I'm not sure. I probably do need to, go do some back history on that and see what we can find out.
But it does make you wonder, will we see a member of Legends if it is a member that isn't killed off? Do they maybe come over to the Arrowverse? Do we see, not to the Arrowverse, but to Arrow? They're already in the Arrowverse. Or do we see someone else? Do we
get new characters or?
Yeah, new characters. We theorized, what if Jennifer from Black Lightning, if it officially joins the Arrowverse.
YouTube.com/Nerdwide.
What if she joins Arrow just to be a part of something apart from her father and sister?
Right.
There's a lot of ways they could go, and I'm sure that they'll do something that'll get fans excited for next season. But
I just don't know where you go from here. But that's why we're not writers for a hit TV show.
I mean, when you see how often our theories have done pretty well, how accurate we've been, I think we could be.
Okay, so let's cut the crap. It's not the we, Chris. It's you.
Hey, we're a team,
There
Tyler.
you go. Original team Nerdwide. Uh,
Right.
before this episode ended, we saw the ex DA and the ex police captain. They hold a press conference attempting to impeach Oliver Queen on grounds of injustice because he fired them. Um, that's going to play a big problem next episode, I'm sure. But the biggest shock
Hmm.
came at the very end. We found out that Diaz and Black Siren are an item, and that Diaz still has one small little last vial of vertigo. Now,
So,
what does that mean? Is my question. What's the whole
uh,
point of the vertigo?
oh, I don't know.
Because I mean,
I
I don't feel like that was a big. That should have been something big, important,
Yeah.
But who knows?
Um, I think the end result of that relationship, because I don't see Katie Cassidy going anywhere.
No.
Um,
Hell, she's
she's
been here for
gonna,
6 seasons.
yeah, I think she's gonna continue to be with the show. What I think we may see happen is she finally will get that little bit of good in her to come out, and I think what we've seen will end up being more of a ploy to stay close to Diaz,
Mm-hmm.
and when the time comes, she'll turn on him,
Yeah, Quentin will
and
probably be threatened
and
somehow, and
maybe then maybe she becomes a new teammate of Oliver's next year.
mm, man, I don't know. That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? We'll have our original
It would
stuff
be,
back.
but it wouldn't be the craziest thing we've seen.
That that is the truth. Early numbers for this episode: 0.3 rating, which is down zero point 0.1, 0.87 million viewers, which is down 0.25, which this is the lowest rated episode of Arrow ever. In all 6 seasons, is the lowest rated episode. And it's below 1 million viewers.
The struggle is real.
Yeah.
Now those are overnight numbers again, but
Yeah. Doesn't count
that's
for your
that's not.
DVRs and stuff.
Um, and the weird part of it is we heard about the renewals on,
It was
was it Monday?
Monday. And Arrow aired
Monday.
Thursday.
Yeah, because we recorded
Tuesday night.
our renewal discussion Tuesday night. Arrow aired Thursday, so you would have thought the good pub from the renewal
Mm-hmm.
would have gotten some eyes back on the show.
The exact
They
opposite.
lost you. Uh, but
Mm.
I think, when your previews show two of your fan favorite characters fighting, uh, after everything else people have seen this year, I just think that's hopefully it wasn't a bridge too far
Yeah, the beginning of
because
the end, if you will.
because that's rough.
Yeah. And then next week's episode is titled Fundamentals, which I'm sure is looks like the from what to me it what sounds like just from that episode title is um what the fundamental of Oliver Queen is or the original Team Arrow. So
Do you know offhand how many episodes we have left? It's got to be like 3 or 4, I would think.
we're episode 17. We go to 22.
Okay, so we got 5 episodes left
That's still a lot.
for them to try and salvage this.
Yeah. Which they're
Um,
actually, I think Stephen Amell tweeted out an episode. I think they go to 23 this year. Hold on.
really?
Yeah, let me double check
Well,
because
while you're checking, I will tell people that we have heard that there is going to be a cliffhanger, but it's not going to be a traditional cliffhanger at the end of this season. It's going to fall somewhere between the season one cliffhanger um, and last year's cliffhanger, as far as the type of cliffhanger that it is. So they're not really tipping their hand a whole lot with that because it's basically it's somewhere between either end of the spectrum.
yeah,
But um, I'm it it looks like it's going to be more similar to season one, I would think, because he's getting very, very close, Oliver is,
mm,
to just being all alone.
which is how we started with season one.
And
Mm.
with Thea now gone, you know, it it's
And
gonna be rough.
technically, I guess Diggle gone from him for a while. And yeah, the picture he tweeted out was of the script, and of course he blurred out the title of the episode, but it had 623.
Okay, so
So
we got 6 episodes left.
yeah, which is surprising because I feel like they're already. Man, I don't know. I guess I'll figure out when the episode happens. I feel like that's a little much. I feel like I'm not okay with Arrow this season, and the past 2 episodes have made me feel a lot better about it.
Hmm.
But I don't know. That's what 16, 17. So there's still 15 other episodes that I'm just not okay with. Eh,
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. But in the meantime, Chris, it is time for the fan favorite segment, Douche Canoe of the Week. Who is getting our golden honor this week?
Well, despite what I just said about how I think her storyline's going to play out by the end of the season with Arrow, it's got to be Black Siren.
Mm, 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 mm. Just because of um, the utter backstabbery that's going on,
Yeah,
and the fact that
yeah,
Diaz was in Quentin's home, unacceptable.
yeah.
Granted, he brought her food,
He
but
did. French fries.
yeah, French
So
fries. So
there's that.
now, Chris, who gets the honor of Hero of the Week?
This is probably the first time for this person.
Probably the first time and potentially the last time, but
Yeah, well, we don't know what's going to happen this week.
right.
So, um, because of the role he played with the legends and the counseling and so forth, we have to give Hero of the Week to Obama.
And we didn't talk about it much in the Legends episode, but all the similarities to his name and Barry Allen's name was so funny because Ray Palmer said, "Run, Barry, run!" And he kind of like made
Yeah,
a face about it. I love you guys. I love the writing for this show.
yeah.
Oh man! All right, Chris. Favorite episode this week out of the two, and of course, before we do sign off next week, we officially do get the flashback. So, not the flashback,
Flashback.
but the Flash space back. The Flash TV show
Okay.
back on the air.
I'm glad you cleared that
There we
up because
go.
I was confused. I have flashbacks all the time.
Right.
Um, I got to go with Legends, man. It was so much fun, and it really moved the story along. We got major developments. Of course, they had to do that because
Season finale
this
next week.
week's yeah, this week's episode is going to be the season finale. But night and day difference between Legends and Arrow. Arrow was a
Yeah.
good episode in the sense that we got major developments going on there, and we haven't gotten that with every episode that they've shown us this year. But it's just it's damn near depressing to watch
Yeah.
Arrow, right?
Yeah,
And
and that's why I picked Legends this week as well. It's just because it's like you said, night and day. Like
yeah,
Legends is so much fun to watch, and then I almost feel like when we get to Arrow, it's just I I, I just don't want to, but the past 2 episodes have brought it up for me, just not to the point that Legends is at. Period.
yeah, I'm really hopeful that Arrow, as we move toward the finale, we get a little more, not physical, of course, but uh, figurative brightness.
Right.
Some hope. Give us some hope
Yeah.
because right now everything's falling apart and it just really stinks.
Yeah. Especially because this is the flagship of all of these TV shows,
Yeah,
and
I was talking to somebody the other day at work, and the question was, did they renew Arrow considering how the ratings have been? Just because if you don't, can you still call it the Arrowverse? Like,
mm,
they've had so much marketing behind the Arrowverse,
yeah.
and if you cancel it before everything else goes away, is it still the Arrowverse?
I mean, I feel like it would still have to be, just because again it is the flagship of all of these shows, and the story still exists. Like the Arrow wasn't. It's not. It got canceled, but it's not erased. So I don't know.
I don't know. And if they have 6 episodes left of
That's
Arrow
still a lot,
before,
dude. That is still a lot.
and but the scary part is what worries me is look where the ratings are at with this one.
Yeah.
If they keep going down over the next 6 episodes, what are they going to hit?
Mm.
Like where's the floor?
Yeah. I feel like at that point there's going to be a bunch of brainstorming sessions. They're going to have to bring Jeff Johns in, which is the head of DC Comics right now. And I feel like it's just going to take all hands on deck. What do we do to bring this show and give it a little bit more breath of life?
I think one thing that they need to do, and then we can close this out if you want. They've got WB Warner Brothers. They have to stop handcuffing these shows just because of what's going on in the film universe.
Yep.
Arrow, a few seasons ago, had set up the Suicide Squad.
Yep. Even with Amanda Waller.
And yeah, and Warner Brothers told them, you've got to kill that storyline because we're coming out with a Suicide Squad movie. Why does it matter?
Right.
They've already said the film universe is separate from the TV universe. So who cares? You're going to get a different storyline with different actors in the theater as opposed to on television. Let them do their thing. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah. And I thought that's a route that they need to address.
Yeah.
Especially we've got Themyscira on Legends. There's so many nods to everything. There's something's just got to be brought into it. But hopefully we find out next season, or at the end of this season. But guys, that is it for this week of Hero Cravings Arrowverse. Make sure to review us on all your favorite podcasting services, and don't forget to share this on all your favorite social media platforms. And on that note, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/nerdwide. You can follow Nerdwide on Twitter at nerd_wide. You can follow me personally at Ty_Haynes. And you can follow Mr. Rivers at MavTN7. And if you do follow us there, let us know what show you come from, and we're going to spark up some conversation with you. But, as always, I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and the man himself, Chris Rivers. And we cannot wait to share our thoughts with you next week.
Peace out, people.